My name is Paul McSharry. I'm chairperson of the Seán Commemoration Committee, and I'd like to welcome you all here to the 2021 Commemoration in Seán Diarmada.
Hello, my name is Maura, my known as Grant. I'm a grandniece of Seán Diarmada, and I want to welcome you all to today's ceremony. Although you can't be here in person, I'm sure you'll appreciate that you're part of the whole thing. Now, 5 years ago we were all here for a wonderful weekend, and I'm sure most of you today were here that day as well. And I wanted to thank Seamus and Mihal, as usual, for arranging this ceremony today and for all those years ago. And I also want to thank Kieran and all the staff from the Heritage Centre for all the hard work they do. And I would like to say a few words about Seán himself, about his background. Now, my grandfather Patrick was the eldest of the family, followed by Terence, followed by the 5 females, then Seán, then James, and then Daniel. Now, of the family, my grandfather had 6 children, 6 living children. May wasn't married. Catty B was Maggie's daughter and Mary Ann. And Kate wasn't married either, nor Rose. But James was married and he had 2 sons in America. And I've met the 4 children, the grandchildren. So all in all, there are very few of us, really closely related to Seán. But Seán's mum and dad were Donald McDermott and Mary McMorrow. So we have a lot of third cousins McMorrows, including Hubert. And now Maggie, Seán's sister Maggie, lived very near Cornmore as well. And people from Kilty would know Maggie and her daughter Catty B very well. And so I just want to say that on behalf of my whole family, thank you for having us here today. And I hope you all have a lovely Sunday. And remember Seán. Okay, thank you. I would like to say a few words about my grandfather's family. He had 6 living children, and the eldest was Dan. He has a daughter in Dublin, Eileen, and she has children as well. And then we have Pat and Kay in Belfast, and Pat has 4 children, and his wife Roisin. They were here 5 years ago as well. Then my mother, she was Mary Ann, but she liked to be called Mary. She didn't really like Mary Ann, but she was married to my dad, Jack Fallon. And there was just me in that family. Then there was my Uncle Terry, and he had 3 children, Patricia, Seán and Podrick. And 5 years ago, it was Patricia who opened up the whole ceremony in Cornmore. When I was speaking about my grandfather's family, I spoke about my mother, my Uncle Dan and my Uncle Terry, but I didn't remember to speak about my Uncle John James, my Uncle Paddy and my Aunt Kathleen.
In the town of Kiltyclar, a monument does stand to a proud and noble Leitrim man who lived and died for Ireland. He organised an army and he stood against the crown, so Irish men and women would no more be beaten down. And driven by desire to rekindle freedom's flame, he signed a proclamation that rejected England's claim to Ireland and her people, her destiny restored. The man was Seán Diarmada, the pride of Cornmore. Now on the shores of Loch McNain there stood a mansion grand, and the landlords that did dwell there were amongst the cruelest in the land. 39 families Lord Tottenham did rout, and later Colonel Adamson 100 more cast out. The pain of these evictions young McDermott saw firsthand, And there and then the rebel vowed to one day make a stand. I'll rid the Irish nation of their likes forevermore. The pledge of Seán McDiarmada, the pride of Corranmore. So he planned a revolution, preached the fiery gospel of the free, promised an end to persecution, till the time was right to strike for liberty. Then one Easter Monday morning, he realized his plan. When poets stood with playwrights and rose up with the working man to fight the forces of King George and set the country free. Though he knew deep in his heart it could not end in victory, but in the glorious madness of a rising doomed to fail, he hoped his deeds would resurrect the spirit of the Gael. For 6 long days they battled till they could take no more. Enough, said Seán McDiarmada, the pride of Corranmore. On General Maxwell's orders, they took him from his cell, and he hobbled to that prison yard where 13 of his comrades fell. Then they placed a blindfold on those eyes of cobalt blue. He stood there to attention, for his dreams would now come true. And when those Sherwood foresters took aim on that great dawn, their bullets would ensure the rebels' legacy lived on. His thoughts returned to Leitrim and Macnean's lonely shore. Then they martyred Seán McDiarmada, the pride of Corranmore. And just as he had intended, his death brought life to the cause. Soon years of tyranny ended, new Irish ways and Irish laws. In the town of Kiltyclogher, a monument does stand to honour you, McDiarmada, who lived and died for Ireland. But has your selfless sacrifice turned out to be in vain? For the nation that you died for is in bondage once again, and those who climb on stages to commend your noble deeds have crucified your people through austerity and greed. The bailiffs have returned again, evictions by the score. Where are you, Seán McDiarmada, the pride of Corranmore? Oh, and will your likes be seen again round Macnean's plundered shores? We need you, Seán McDiarmada, the pride of Corranmore.
Ar dús tá fáilte roimh comóra bliain tú Seán McDiarmada I gillte tluchar chun dí léitrimhe. Is mis Mícheál Calrivi, ar cóiliúr agus ar theachtadála as túní ní roir chun dí léitrimhe, agus tuath méneart imictí don céad chuig déag nómadí eile nó mar sin. First of all, can I welcome everybody to our commemoration. It's a pity we can't be here in person the same way we normally would every year, but nonetheless, we hope to have a good commemoration and we hope that people will enjoy it. Thank you very much for joining us. I'll first of all call on Maura Melonis, grandniece of Seán McDiarmada, and her daughter Rosa, to lay a wreath on behalf of the family. I now call on Maureen Cullen from Kilty Clogher to lay a wreath on behalf of the organising committee. Maureen. And the final wreath will be laid by Pádraig McSharry on behalf of Sinn Féin. Pádraig. I now call on Dennis Dillon from Kilty Clogher to read the proclamation. Dennis is the son of our late and beloved Jim Dillon, who was a committee member right from the very start and who always read the proclamation for us here. Dennis Dillon.
Irish men and Irish women, in the name of God and the dead generations from which she received her old tradition of nationhood, Ireland, through us, summons her children to her flag and strikes for her freedom. Having organised and trained her manhood through her secret revolutionary organisation, the Irish Republican Brotherhood, and through her open military organisations, the Irish Volunteers and the Irish Citizen Army, having patiently perfected her discipline, having resolutely waited for the right moment to reveal itself, she now seizes that moment. And supported by her exiled children in America and by gallant allies in Europe, who are relying in the first on her own strength, she strikes in full confidence of victory. We declare the right of the people of Ireland to the ownership of Ireland, and to the unfettered control of the Irish destinies, to be sovereign and indefeasible. The long usurpation of that right by a foreign people and government has not extinguished the right, nor can it ever be extinguished except by the destruction of the Irish people. In every generation, the Irish people have asserted their right to national freedom and sovereignty. 6 times during the past 300 years, they have asserted it in arms. Standing on that fundamental right and again asserting it in arms in the face of the world, we hereby proclaim the Irish Republic as a sovereign, independent state. And we pledge our lives and the lives of our comrades in arms to the cause of its freedom, of its welfare, and of its exaltation among the nations. The Irish Republic is entitled to and hereby claims the allegiance of every Irish man and Irish woman. The Republic guarantees religious and civil liberty, equal rights and equal opportunities to all its citizens, and declares its resolve to pursue the happiness and prosperity of the whole nation and of all its parts, cherishing all the children of the nation equally, and oblivious to the differences carefully fostered by an alien government which has divided the minority from the majority in the past. Until our arms have brought the opportune moment for the establishment of a permanent national government, representative of the whole people of Ireland and elected by the suffrages of all her men and women, the provisional government hereby constituted will administer the civil and military affairs of the Republic in trust for the people. We place the cause of the Irish Republic under the protection of the Most High God, whose blessing we invoke upon our arms. And we pray that no one who serves that cause will dishonour it by cowardice, inhumanity, or rapine. In this supreme hour, the Irish nation must, by its valour and discipline, and by the readiness of its children to sacrifice themselves for the common good, prove itself worthy of the august destiny to which it is called. Signed on behalf of the Provisional Government, Thomas J. Clark, Seán McDiarmada, Thomas McDonough, Pádraig Pearse, Eamon Cant, James Connolly, Joseph Plunkett.
I now call on Martin Kenny, TD, for Sligo Leitrim to give the main oration.
G. Eve, my name is Martin Kenny, Sinn Féin TD for Sligo Leitrim. And first of all, I want to thank the Seán McDiarmada Commemorative Committee for the opportunity to say a few words in the memory of Seán McDiarmada on this, the 105th anniversary of his execution in Commemoration Jail for his part in the 1916 Rising. Of course, McDiarmada was one of the main people who created the opportunity that Ireland had to strike for its freedom. He and Tom Clark and a small number of others planned a rising for to light a flame of freedom that would inspire freedom-loving people all over the world at a time when the British Empire was at its height of power. McDiarmada and the others set out to create a different Ireland, a new Ireland, to show that there was a different way forward, for to declare a republic and make that republic a reality, but unfortunately they did not live to make that reality happen. McDiarmada was a man come from a simple place in North Leitrim, and I want to pay tribute to the Commemorative Committee, who every year in Kilty Clogher organise the commemoration and do everything they can to make a success of the event in or around the 12th of May. And this year is no different, although it has to be done online because of the pandemic. We again rededicate ourselves to what McDiarmada set out to achieve. And I want to thank the Commemorative Committee for all the work that they always do in regard to that. And this year we remember Jim Dillon, who was passed away since the last time we had the commemoration. And there's so many others who in the past were part of the Commemorative Committee there and are no longer with us. But we always rededicate ourselves to what McDiarmada set out to achieve. And of course, a part of the commemoration every year in Kilty Clogher is the extended McDiarmada family, his grandnieces and nephews and great-grandnieces and great-grandnephews. And I want to remember them as well and acknowledge their part that they always play in all of that. The people of North Leitrim have always made it very clear that their ambition is to achieve what McDiarmada set out to achieve a 32-county Irish Republic based on the Proclamation of 1916. And we continue to work toward that goal and to make that happen. Just as 40 years ago, 10 men in the H blocks of Long Kesh died on hunger strike because they would not allow Irish freedom and Irish fight for freedom to be criminalised. And of course, on the 12th of May, Francie Hughes from South Derry, on the same date as McDiarmada, died on hunger strike, the second of 10. And we remember them 40 years on, and it's very much a part of this generation of Irish Republicans that the hunger strike was one of the seismic events that changed history, just as 100 years ago, the 1916 revolution was a seismic event that changed history. But today we're in a different place, we're in a new place, and we're moving forward. There's more Republicans on this island now than there have ever been in the past. Sinn Féin's popularity and strength is growing in every county and at every election. And we drive forward toward a 32-county republic. Because in the Good Friday Agreement, which was signed up to by all parties to the conflict on this island, a part of that agreement is that there will be a poll on Irish unity. And we now set ourselves forward to prepare for that poll and to win that poll. And that is the big task that lies ahead of us. And to do that, we need to build alliances and allegiances with everyone who want a progressive and better Ireland. And we want to make sure that that can happen. Of course, many say that unionism, and we see their difficulties at present, is at a crossroads. And while they may not know where they want to go, we are very clear with where we are going. We are going for a better Ireland, for a new Ireland, for a 32-county republic, which will be based and built on the principles of democracy, of freedom and of equality for all. And we assure that our new republic will be no threat to anyone, regardless of their religion or their political identity. And those on this island who consider themselves British will also have a part to play in the new Ireland and will be an integral part of the new republic. We see the signposts everywhere we look. Unionism is at its lowest ebb since any time in the last century. The reality is that unionism is at a crossroads, but it is at a crossroads to nowhere. There is only one direction that it can go, and that's to join with the rest of us in a new and better Ireland. We also look across the water and we see what's happened in the recent election in Scotland, and we see that all the signposts are towards Scottish independence. The old empire is falling apart, and the opportunity now is to build a better future, and that's what we must dedicate ourselves to do. And so as we look back at McDiarmada, we also look forward to a better future, and we rededicate ourselves to a new and better Ireland. And I finally want to, acknowledge again the committee and all the work that has gone into making this commemorative happen. And we look forward to next year having a proper commemoration where we can meet and greet on the streets as we normally would, hopefully on a sunny Sunday on or near the 12th of May in 2022, where we will be free of the virus and we'll be in a better place. But in the meantime, we dedicate ourselves, as Bobby Sands said 40 years ago as he embarked on the hunger strike, everyone, Republican or otherwise, have their part to play in building the better Ireland, in moving us forward. So let's all unite together and make that happen. Let's build a new republic, and let's remember McDiarmada in a 32 county Ireland. Gora mila mila mahi give a cardia.
Thank you, Martin. And next, and I think this is going to be very well received, we have Kieran Rock, who's going to give a short presentation on the McDermott Cottage, the Heritage Centre in Kilty Clogher, and the monument, the McDermott statue here in Kilty Clogher. Kieran.
Hi, my name is Kieran Rock and I work at the Kilty Clogher Heritage Centre. It has now been open since 2016 for 4 years. Between the centre, the monument, the festivals in this historic village and the cottage, Seán McDermott's homestead, we've had up to 15,000 people arriving in our village. In the centre, it will be now open to a limited access while we are under COVID. So we hope for your patience and we hope to hear more news from the government as we go along. We do school tours, walks, guides, and we bring it to national heritage sites. We speak about myth and folklore, we have talks, we discover archaeology, we record, but our flagship is Seán McDermott himself, and we have a timeline in the building and we bring tours during the summer and we liaise with the OPW, Leitrim County Council, Kilty Clogher community and the people of Leitrim. The monument in the street was erected by Albert Power and was erected by the Commemoration Committee. It was in 1940 when a plinth was put in the middle of the street of Kilty Clogher. There was no figure on top of it at the time, but 5,000 people came to see this wonderful monument from probably the poorest parish in Europe. It was later Seán himself was put up on top of the monument. And you can see from it, it was depicted as by Albert Power as his last moments before he was shot on the 12th of May at 3:45 in the morning. And he was taken out by the auxiliaries, and you can see him standing there in the Kilty street, blowing in the breeze, standing in the breeze, looking down at his auxiliaries that were about to shoot him in a firing squad. You can see he was a kit oak because in his left hand he holds his blindfold and he faced his fears with his eyes open and became one of Ireland's probably most noted national heroes, Seán McDermott. And you can visit him today on our streets in Kilty Clogher, the Heritage Centre, and hopefully we have the cottage open soon. So when you're finished here in the Heritage Centre and out at the monument on the road, we will take you up to Corranmore, where the homestead of the McDermott family is and Seán's home. We will travel along the glaciated valley of the Corranmore Road. When we arrive at the homestead, which is the only remaining homestead of any of the signatories of the 1916 Rising to be in full tact and is now in state care and looked after by the OPW and ourselves in the Heritage Centre. When you arrive there, there's 3 buildings. One is a creamery, the second is a bar, and then the main building is the cottage itself. The homestead is actually below Tor Mountain, and you can see that Tor Mountain from the front. And when you're walking in the drive, you can see it's beautifully lined by Lelandia on both sides. And I think Terence put those up. And when you come in, you just see this beautiful white buildings in front of you. And it's a great understanding and a step into the past of life in Ireland. If you would like to book a tour and hear more stories of the area and visit the centre, the monument or the cottage, please ring us on 071 98 54 865 or check us out on Facebook or else on our website. Thank you.
So listen, it falls to me now just to conclude the events for today's ceremony and to thank everybody who worked so hard to make sure that we could put this together. I hope you've got inspiration and pleasure indeed from watching and listening to the proceedings. We really are looking forward to next year, where hopefully we can be here with the Strabane Martyrs Memorial Band playing the music over the beautiful hills and dales of North Leitrim, and with hundreds of people in attendance and with better haircuts than we have at the present time. But hopefully we'll be able to get together for the annual commemoration next year. And finally, as well as thanking you, we live in exciting times, and I'll ask everybody to consider the work, the privilege it's going to be for us that we can stand together with our friends, with our colleagues, with some who we are our political opponents, and design a new Ireland for people of every class, culture, creed in this country. So, tá overmór le dhéanamh agam, a raig leis an obair, gur a míle maigah. We'll now call on Micheál Shanley to play Órán na Bhíon. And after Órán na Bhíon, we have a very special bonus in this year, the centenary of the War of Independence. We have an excellent song, Beneath the Slopes of Selton Hill, which is sung by Owen Kenny and written by Michael Whelan. So it's an added bonus, and I hope our viewers will enjoy it. Gur míle maigah.
On history's page with pride we read of Leitrim's fighting tale. Her manhood bold 'neath the green and gold did die for Grania well. But the boys who fought the Blackans' sands and freedom's cup did fill were our noble sons who faced the guns 'neath the slopes of Selton Hill. While the chill March wind it was unkind as the column pushed along. On early dawn in Swansea one, when the fight was raging strong, mid Gorvey hills they stood to rest, where their plans soon came to nil. For truth is said, they were betrayed beneath the slopes of Selton Hill. Oh, 'tis 5 o'clock and the English guns have pinned them to the ground. Behind the house that sheltered them, Sean Connolly looks around. Oh, they're closing in around us, boys, break through this ring of steel. Oh, some of us will fall today beneath the slopes of Selton Hill. With rifles raised, O'Reilly blazed, Jack Hunts was by their side, and Seamus Rainstrode made the din to stem the battle tide. But from the lane the bullet its rain did Baxter's lifeblood spill, ere the night wind sighed and Joe Byrne died beneath the slopes of Selson Hill. As the stars grew bright on that cold March night, the gallant Sweeney rose, and McPartland too had broken through from the death grip of his foes, while far away McDermott prayed and Guckian wept his fill for their comrades brave who died that day beneath the slopes of Selson Hill. Her manhood bold 'neath the green and gold did die for Grania well, but the boys who fought the black and tanned in freedom's cup did fill were our noble sons who faced the guns 'neath the slopes of Selson Hill.